Raise your hand now if you support the letter. And we're gonna count.
Occupy Philadelphia is a people's movement by which everyone participates. Therefore, we try to encourage direct democracy, which is what we try to make happen at the General Assemblies, which happen every night at 7 o'clock. In those General Assemblies, we typically have proposals. Proposals come out of working groups. So to back up a little bit, a working group is anyone who is willing and wants to participate in any part of the occupation. Representatives from those work groups will talk it out, they'll bring their concerns to the coordinating committee, and they meet to discuss proposals and to weed them down into what needs to be brought to the General Assembly. Therefore, a representative from the coordinating committee will come to the facilitation meeting for the facilitation committee to then add the proposals to the agenda. Welcome, ground rules, working group report backs, different occupies. Proposals are carried out in a process that is organically developed amongst the entire group.
We're going to go through this letter and we're going to decide collectively if we want to send this to the city or not, and if we want to make changes to it or not.
Received a letter from Rich Negrin, who is our primary contact with the city. He's a deputy mayor. Okay, that letter was brought to the General Assembly. There was some discussion. I wasn't at those General Assemblies, but what was decided was that the General Assembly would respond in the form of a letter.
We are now moving to clarifying questions. If you have a clarifying question for Gatanya or need for further understanding, please get on stack via Joe or Matt, and they will put you on stack for 1 minute.
Now we're going to hear concerns.
I am concerned that this letter, even with points submitted by the GA, is just not the first message. We should be sending to the city.
So a friendly amendment to this letter would mean changing what is in the letter.
I'd like to propose tabling through deletion two segments of this letter.
The amendment was, from the guy over there, that this be labeled draft A and come back tomorrow along with other drafts to be voted on again. Okay? So, raise your hand. This is a straw poll now. Raise your hand if you support that amendment. Okay, there's some support. Hands down. Raise your hand if you don't support that amendment. Okay, so we're kind of split, so we're going to talk about it. I would like to open up stack for concerns about that amendment.
I'm concerned.
Amendment. We will never decide on a letter.
So you've heard the concerns, you've heard the amendment, we're going to vote on this amendment. Okay, this is a binding vote. We're looking for a 2/3 majority to incorporate this amendment. Raise your hand if you are against that amendment. Okay, I see a majority against the amendment, so the amendment will not be incorporated. Okay, we're going to move on to the second amendment. The amendment is cut the letter down to its core message, simplify, shorten it, give it back to the letter writing group and the message group to rewrite for tomorrow. Can we get the stack people to count? Please put your hand down if you've been touched by either Joe or Matt, okay? And keep it up until then. 28. Okay, so that is not a 2/3 majority, so that amendment will not be incorporated. What we did incorporate was to strike the implication that we have decided whether or not we're going to stay here after construction begins, right? The others all went down. Okay, we're going to move on to straw poll on the letter itself. There's a majority, but I can't tell if it's a super majority. Okay, I'm hesitant to go into breakout groups because I feel like we've already discussed this extensively. If you agree with my process decision of not going into breakout groups and going straight to a vote, raise your hand. Straw poll. So we're going to go straight to a vote. Whew, this is is exciting. Is everybody feeling good? Okay, we've made a lot of progress. We're almost done. We're gonna count. We're gonna count them. We need the vote counters to count the votes. Proposal passes. This letter will be delivered to City Hall with the one change that we have agreed upon.
It is implemented by anyone involved, mostly by working groups. Coordinating committee functions as kind of a check and balance, because if a proposal is adopted, it'll affect different work groups in different ways. And if that work group that involves, for example, if something was involving art and the proposal wasn't being carried out, art could come to the coordinating committee and say, everyone at the General Assembly, we adopted this proposal and it isn't being carried out. And so then that could then be addressed at the General Assembly to make sure that the people are all on the same page. The information table has the times and locations of different working groups, where to find them, and meeting times. Facebook.com/Occupy Philadelphia. Media advisories, schedules, locations, direct actions can all be found on the Facebook site.